All right, let's see here. Let's get this YouTube thing drives me nuts. All right, so let's go to here and go to the Google Meet. We're about 3 minutes in. All righty. All right, guys. So here we are. We've got about 3 minutes before the top of the hour. YouTube is giving me fits again, so I'll just upload to YouTube when we're done here. Not that that helps anybody who might be expecting it to be live streamed, but that is what it is. So let's see here. We will wait for everybody to get into this. Let's see here. So anyway, last week, oh, let me start my clock. Last week was crazy. For those of you who don't know, I'm a workaholic, and I have like a lot of things going on, right? My primary day job for the past 15 years has been, I'm the Vice President of Marketing, Director of Marketing and Business Development for a modular housing company that's based in northern South Dakota. And let me make sure, I love it when it does that. Let's see here. Let's go back to here and put you guys on here. So anyway, I have worked for the last 15 years as the marketing director for a housing company. And because of COVID and all the stuff that went on with 20 and 21, which is just kind of like 1 year for me, 20 and 21 are 1 year. So we had a freeze on unnecessary travel for obvious reasons. You know, you don't want sick people moving around the country for no good reason. And so it'd been a couple years since I had actually been on site. And so last week, my wife and I flew to Aberdeen, South Dakota, and we spent a week there. The first day that we were there, the temperature that morning was a natural minus 18 Fahrenheit with a wind chill of about minus 34 or 36 or whatever. If it's minus 30 something, is there really that much difference between 34 and 36? So needless to say, it was a chilly, chilly one indeed. And so we spent a week there, and in doing that, there is this sort of phenomenon that goes on when you walk outside and the temperature is, you know, minus 18 or whatever. It really does a good job for freezing the inside of your sinuses. And so without getting into tremendous gory detail, I wound up with a sinus infection that migrated into both of my eyes. And so last week was tough. It was really tough. So I apologize for having missed the video from last week. So we're going to make up for that today. And today we're going to talk about two things, at least two. We're going to talk about using banner advertisements to drive traffic, to sort of direct traffic to where you want people to go. We've talked about how to effectively create an SEO, a properly configured SEO blog post or web page or whatever, right? We talked about that. We talked about using automated tools like speech to text. We talked about using AI tools like ChatGPT, and those are really evolving and changing almost on a daily basis. There's a lot more opportunities or a lot more options out there for you now. I think Google just rolled out their chat AI chat engine thing. And so there'll be more of those as we go, and that technology will refine. The good news about that is I started running tests by publishing 100% AI generated content January 2nd or 3rd or whatever. And since then, Google has picked up those pages, and I have a domain that wasn't getting any search engine traffic before that period of time. And now it is getting search engine traffic from those AI generated blog posts. So the good news about that is this: it really makes our jobs much easier because we have these options available. And I'm not going to rehash the whole AI discussion. We will be having the AI discussion a lot going forward because I think it is an incredibly powerful tool for us to use as marketers, because over the years I have spent, oh my gosh, I would have to look, but I would be comfortable estimating tens of thousands, maybe even approaching $100,000 that I have spent over the years on content writers, because I would hire people to write blog content, write web pages, write sales pages, write sales emails, things like that. And I gotta be honest with you, even though ChatGPT is not 100% accurate, it gets you so close that you really don't need a content writer anymore. And so I'm pretty excited about that in terms of just being able to have more flexibility in that I don't have to create an idea, have a meeting with a content creator, wait for them to create the content, get it back, review it, edit it, send it back, and have them make changes or whatever. I can do all that sort of in real time now, and I'm excited about that, especially excited about the fact that those pages are ranking and getting traffic for it. So anyway, where we are today is we're at the point where we need to talk about, okay, so we've created the online content, the web page or blog post or whatever. Google has done its thing. Now we're getting traffic. How do we want to handle that traffic? Now I'm going to say this. We can never assume, maybe a better way to say this is this. We can always assume that people are never going to do what we want them to do when they land on a web page. So let's say we create a 400, 500, 600 word blog post. They're not going to read it, number one. They'll read the first, little bit of it. But the stuff that goes down at the bottom, they're just never going to read it. It's just human nature tells me. And I've looked at enough heat maps. And if you guys don't know what a heat map is, go Google that. And you can put some plugins on your website so that you can go in and you can review where people's mouse traveled on your web page, and you can see the hot spots, which is where, as humans, we have a tendency, especially if we're working with a my brain just went blank, with a mouse, which not many people are doing that anymore. So some of this is antiquated terminology that I'm using, but the idea is the same. A traditional heat map would show you, and people would tend to pause their mouse wherever their attention was. So some of that's not applicable to the whole scrolling thing, but you do get some new data based on mobile devices. So I'm getting a little deep into the weeds on that. But heat maps are very important. You will only have to look at a heat map one time to know that the stuff that's going on at the bottom of your page is not getting eyeballs. Certainly not getting enough eyeballs to convert. So what do we do in that instance? What do we do on that page in order to get people to do what we want them to do? So let's say you created a web page, and let me back up for a second here. Let me do something here, because that's not where I want us to be. I want us to be somewhere else. Hang on here. We don't need this YouTube thing anymore. Let's go here, and we'll look at the blog. So let's say that you have created all of these wonderful, gorgeous blog posts that, let me make sure I got you guys on the right page. Now we're there. Now we're good. Okay, so let's say you've created all these wonderful, gorgeous blog posts, and they're getting search engine traffic and all that. What now? What do we want people to do when they land on this page. And this one's just a simple one I threw together. I'm doing some testing on whether images, how many images, placement, and different things like that. But we'll talk about that later. So anyway, let's just say that this is the place where search engine traffic landed. We know that people are not going to get down here to the bottom. They're not gonna read all of this. Maybe this one, because it's pretty short. But if you get any longer than this, people are just not going to read it. They're certainly not coming down here into the second idea and engaging with that. It's just not going to happen. So what do we need to do? We want to present them with on-site advertisements. We want them to make sure you guys are seeing me here. I haven't quite gotten my head around. There we go. Okay, you guys got it. Anyway, so this is where I want people to. Oh, let me back up here. I don't know what's wrong with me today. Let me go here. Okay, so this is where our traffic is coming. Our SEO traffic, our search engine generated traffic is landing on this blog post, but we want to make sure that we're guiding people to where we want them to go. So what I've done is, or what my wife did, is we have created a series of ads. Now, these ads are useful for two reasons. First thing is, we're going to use, as we go forward in this, we're going to teach you guys how to use Google Display Network to remarket to people. So the person who landed on, move this over here so I can keep all this together. Person who landed on this page, let's say they didn't do what we wanted them to do. They landed on the page, life happened, the cat puked on the carpet, whatever. They had to leave and go do something else. Chances of that person coming back of their own volition is effectively zero. They're just not going to do it. So we have to take steps to bring them back. Remarketing is the way that we do that. So you need to make sure that on your blog you have got, make sure on your blog that you've got Google Tracking Pixel and then, Facebook Tracking Pixel and Google Tag Manager. Google Analytics is going away. So they're moving to their GA4 model or whatever. So Tag Manager is where it's going to be. If you guys have not delved into Tag Manager, the learning curve is pretty steep on it. But the benefit there is incredible because you can do a lot of minute tracking on that. And we'll talk about that in just a little bit when we talk about lead hooks. So anyway, you've got people coming to this page. You've got to make sure that you can tag them in order to remarket to them. Facebook Tracking Pixel and Google Tag Manager is the way to do that. Now, remarketing, you need ads in order to do that. So if you go right now and you Google Display Network ad sizes, you'll find a list of all of the various ad sizes that you can use with Google Display Network. I recommend that you use like the top 4 or so. Some of the sort of obscure ones or whatever down at the bottom of the list are not nearly as effective. So use if you can see on this right here, this is a pretty big example. But vertical skyscrapers are good, horizontal banners are good, square is good, 300 by 300, 250 by 250, that kind of thing. Create you some ads that look like this, and we're going to talk about how to do that in just a moment. Create you some ads that look like this, and then use those same ads that you will be using on Google Display Network as ads on your blog post to direct traffic where you want it to go. Banner advertising works. That's why you see it on every news website that you go to. There's going to be banner ads on there, right? So those work. We just need to make sure that we're capitalizing on it for what we need to do. So check the sizes and just make a list of those. Once you've got those sizes lined out, I'm going to introduce you to, let me just check real quick and see if anybody's in the, nobody's in the lobby. I've got 2. You guys are diehards. I appreciate you guys doing that. If you haven't used Canva, where have you been? We were introduced to Canva probably Oh my goodness, I'm trying to think. We went to Social Media Marketing World in San Diego, California in 2016 or maybe 2017. And that's where I found Canva. So we've been using it for quite a long time. Or my wife she uses it a lot more than I do. She's my go-to person on creating things. In fact, she created the ads that we're going to be using for this new promotion that we're doing. But anyway, the thing about Canva is, even with the free version, and I'm not sure which version we have. But even with the free version, you do get access to a lot of options, and they have templates. You can start from scratch, obviously, and build your own. And I'm about 99% sure that she started from scratch on these, or this one rather. But if you're not graphically inclined or whatever, if you are artistically challenged, like I am, I can think the photography stuff. That's my creative outlet. Graphic design, stuff like that, not so much there. But anyway, there are tons and tons and tons of free tools that are available through Canva, and it's really just all right. So let's try this, what we got over here in the social media stack, and let's just look at something real quick. Okay, so let's look at Facebook posts, because we do a lot of that to try and leverage free traffic from Facebook. There are many on here. All right, so these, I guess, if you look here, this one is part of the paid program. This one is part of the pro program. But if we look down here, the ones that don't have dollar signs beside them are ones that you can use for free. And since today is Valentine's Day, hug all your loved ones. We will take a look at this one, and it's really quite simple. And I don't want this to turn into an overt Canva tutorial, because I am not the guy to do a Canva tutorial. If you guys would like to have one, I'll see if I can get my wife to do it. She's not happy about doing video, so it might take a little bit of encouragement. But if you guys want that, let me know. So it's as simple as you just click on it, and it's really sort of a WYSIWYG thing, right? What you see is what you get. And you do all of your design in this app, as it were, and it works on your phone or it works on your tablet or whatever. I just so happen to use the computer most of the time. And literally, you have these blocks, and you can rearrange these blocks any way you want to. Obviously, you can change the text that's in them, and then you can add different elements, either images or graphics or stock photos that they have available in Canva. And it's literally just a matter of dropping this stuff in and creating whatever it is that you need. Obviously, you can resize this stuff and make it work the way that you need it to. And so that's Canva. Now, like I said, I just want to sort of turn you guys onto it, and then you can dig in. And obviously, with everything that I talk about, there's a million YouTube how-to videos that are out there. So to sort of bring us up to speed, go on Google, make a list of the banner ad sizes, okay, because you're going to be using Google Display Network, hopefully for remarketing. If you're not, do it. But those same sizes you're going to use to plug into your blog post, okay? So get familiar with Canva, get you a list of those sizes, go ahead and get those banners made so that when you're ready to do your remarketing, you can plug those in. I recommend, honestly, that you do this in reverse order and make sure that you've got your follow-up program in place and your remarketing in place before you start paying money for ads, because a lot of people waste a lot of money because they put the cart before the horse. Speaking of that, let's take a look at this. This is where I want my traffic to ultimately land, okay? And this is my squeeze page or my lead hook or whatever it is that your marketing training referred to this as. I switch back and forth. Lately I've been using lead hook. Before I used squeeze page. So you may hear me use those terms interchangeably, and it really means the same thing. And what that means is a landing page that you use in order to capture lead information from people. So what we have created is a series of PDFs that for this particular campaign, I don't know why I'm so I can't get my words together. I'm gonna tell you something. I had COVID back at the beginning of January of last year. Okay, so I'm a year into my post-COVID thing, and the cognitive impacts of it have been frightening is the only word that I can use to properly describe it. So I have some days where it's just like I just can't get my thoughts together. Today is one of those days. Some of it may be the fact that I'm an old guy, but I'm blaming it on COVID. So anyway, we create a landing page, and the purpose for this page is to get lead information from people. The purpose of this page is to fill your lead hopper with people who are not quite ready yet. Now, we talk about Facebook really quickly for a second. In the hierarchy of value of traffic, organic SEO traffic is absolutely, positively the best traffic that you can get. That's one reason that I started this presentation this year focusing on that, because that's the highest quality traffic you can get. Every stat that I have seen for the last decade and more says that they stay longer, they go deeper, their engagement is many times higher than other traffic sources. So your number one source of traffic is always going to be SEO. Focus the majority of your time, resources, and attention on developing a good, solid SEO strategy. Ergo, here we are. The second most valuable traffic that you're going to find is going to be Google keyword ad traffic. Now, the reason that those two are the more valuable or the more engaged is because the user is initiating the contact. The user is saying, hey, I want information about Southern Exposures. I want information about Luxe Boudoir. I want information about boudoir photographers in my area, okay? So that's user initiated, and it's always going to be more engaging than anything that can come from intrusive advertising. Intrusive advertising is exactly what it sounds like. I'm out here on the web doing the thing that I do, something that I enjoy. Maybe I'm on YouTube and I'm watching YouTube videos or whatever, and boom, Jason now has intruded into my time by showing me an ad for his boudoir business or his photography business or his purple widget business or whatever it is. That is intrusive. That traffic is going to be less engaged with your brand than if I had initiated that contact as a consumer myself. So, number one, SEO. Number two, Google keyword ads. Number three, intrusive stuff. Now, you can raise the value of traffic that comes from intrusion marketing by making sure that you are presenting them with content that is, let me blast back over here real quick. You can make sure that you can increase the engagement and the value of that traffic by making sure you are giving them content that is applicable to them, right? And so that's where this remarketing idea comes in. If somebody already landed on a page that is about my business and they have been presented with quality content, and then something happened that took them away, whatever that is, and then minutes, hours, days, weeks, months later, they are on YouTube or they're on their local news website or any of the myriad places that the Google Display Ad Network has your ads displaying, they're going to look at that, they're going to identify with it, and they are going to be more engaged than should I just go out onto YouTube and say, I want to advertise, I want to drive cold ads to this particular demographic. Those people are going to be less engaged because I have to try to suss out among the population in general people who are going to be interested in my product or service. If they've already been there once, chances are they're going to be more interested in it the second time, the third time, the fifth time, the ninth time, or whatever, right? So this is why remarketing is vitally important, in my opinion, because number one, you've paid for these people to see your content. It costs you money to get them on your page. Whether that cost is involved in direct cost for an ad, i.e. Facebook ads or Google search ads or whatever, or the cost in time and resources that it takes you in order to develop a robust SEO traffic flow. In either case, there's a cost involved in getting someone to your website. You had to do something in order to do that. And if that cost is only your time, which in fact, in my opinion, is worth more, my time is worth more than money because, you know, we have the opportunity to make more money where they quit making time a long time ago, right? So, to recap, number one is user-initiated contact. Organic SEO is number two. Now we're moving into this intrusive thing. So remarketing is going to be way better than cold stuff. Now let's talk about one of the least valuable in terms of engagement traffic sources that I've ever seen, and that's Facebook traffic. And part of the reason for that is this. People go to Facebook for a reason, and that reason may be to engage with friends, that reason may be to look at funny cat videos, that reason may be to argue politics and religion. There's a whole laundry list of reasons people go to Facebook, and being taken off that platform and dropped onto your brand page is probably not what they had intended to do that day. I don't know of a single person who says, hey, let's go on Facebook and see what kind of ads pop up today. That just doesn't happen, right? So when you take someone out of this social thing that they've got going on, and then you move them off platform onto your website, even though they did it themselves, they clicked, they made the conscious decision, or maybe subconscious, I don't know. But anyway, they performed the action, right? They had to tap, they had to click, they had to say, okay, I'm going to go see what's going on over here. And what's going on over here is usually not nearly as exciting to them as what was going on back over here for a variety of reasons, because, if they're engaged with a conversation with someone, they may get a notification or whatever that lets them know that, hey, Facebook is still alive over here. And so the bounce rate, the time on platform, the number of pages clicked, and all of that stuff is so much lower for traffic that comes from Facebook, especially traffic that comes from Facebook ads. Now, if you've developed a tribe and you've got a group and you're nurturing that group and you're engaging with them and all of that stuff, then traffic from that source is going to be higher. It's probably not going to be as high as some of those user-initiated things just because of the nature of how things are. But that's going to be a little higher. But then that goes back to the cost of doing that. There are a lot of boudoir gurus out there who will tell you that the only thing you need to do is just develop a Facebook group and use that for your marketing. I think that's incredibly dangerous. Number one, I've had Facebook accounts that were just absolutely straight up closed for no good reason, and it took me months of diligent, daily, hours upon hours of contact through my advertising contacts in Facebook to get that account reinstated. So I would never recommend putting all of your business eggs in one basket. And if I were going to recommend that, which I'm not, but if I were, that basket certainly wouldn't be Facebook, because there's just so much that could go wrong. So do I think it's a good idea to build a Facebook group and do some of the things that these other marketing gurus are telling you to do? It can't hurt. And a lot of people are really successful with it. If you have the time to invest in developing this group, go for it. Personally, I don't have time for that. I just don't. Number one, I don't trust Facebook enough to invest that amount of time in it. And number two, I just don't have that much time. I don't have hours out of my week that I can spend, massaging this Facebook group. If you do, great. And I know there's a lot of people who have had a lot of success doing exactly that with the private Facebook group. And if you're one of those people, awesome. Good job, okay? But I would recommend that you diversify, just simply because it's dangerous. It's really, really, really dangerous to have your only source of convertible traffic to be from Facebook. It would just drive me nuts. And one of the gurus in particular is not bashful to tell everyone that she has produced in excess of $1 million in gross revenue for the last 3 years, and her only advertising avenue for her courses is a Facebook group. And that would, I would not sleep at all if I was relying on Facebook for $1 million plus annual business. It would drive me insane. I just can't even imagine that. But, to each their own. If it works for her and she's happy and she can sleep at night, awesome. I couldn't do that. So anyway, we took a little trip into the weeds on that. Let's go back and let's talk about a little bit more about the landing page. Keep it simple. You'll notice on here that there's no sort of overt way to get off of this page. You can actually go right here and click and it will take you back to my main website, but there's no home button. There's none of that. We've got our contact information up here at the top, but the main goal of this page is to get the person right over here so they can download the free guide. And the free guide is 5 reasons that you should book your boudoir session today. By the way, all of the text that you see on this page was written by ChatGPT, all of it, okay? I've got, if they drill down, obviously this lady right here is probably one of our best testimonials ever. She literally, broke down in tears during her video testimonial. Like, you can't script that sort of stuff. And if you guys would like to see that or whatever, if you just pop over to Facebook and look up Sahara's Luxury Boudoir Testimonial, you will find that, and I think you'll probably agree that her statements are very strong. She had a great session. So I'm using her as the way to guide people into know, trust, and love. I don't know if we've talked about that. We probably did earlier in the video, but in order for someone to do business with you, 3 things have to happen. They have to know you, they have to trust you, and they have to love you. The know part, obviously that's what we're doing. That's why we do marketing, because if they don't know about us, they can't Google us. If they don't know about us, they can't look us up. If they don't know, they don't know. So the major part of marketing is making sure that people know that we are here and know what we do, right? The next thing is the trust part. And boudoir photography is not a transactional business. Boudoir is a relational business. What we do is very intimate. I cannot tell you how many of our clients that we have established friendships with because of the intimate nature of what we do. You can't spend, or at least I can't anyway, right? I can't spend 3 or 4 hours with somebody in an intimate setting like that and not establish some sort of connection with them, right? So the trust factor is huge, and especially when we look at, I'm a guy. I don't know if you guys can tell that or not, but I think I have, and I've never really experienced this in terms of people who are just like, oh, I don't want to do business with you because you're a guy, or I don't want. It's just not like that with me. I mean, we have testimonials from people who are just like, working with Jason's great. One woman said after about 15 minutes, it was more like we were redecorating a room than doing boudoir, because, it's like I'm a goofball. I laugh, I joke with people. It's constantly sort of this banter that's going on. And I do that to try and take people's mind off the fact that they're in a room with a guy, and sometimes my wife is there and sometimes she's not there. And I really don't see that dynamic makes much difference at all. But I want to take their mind off of the fact that they're in their underwear or less in a room with somebody that they just met, 45 minutes ago or whatever. And so I have my own little way that I do that works really well for making people comfortable. So anyway, the trust factor is huge. The first way that we get to begin to cross this trust bridge is with our marketing material, right? And so the easiest way for me to trust you is for me to see something in you or in your brand that resonates with me. So someone can come on here and they can look at this page and hopefully they say, oh, okay, this person is not a size 0, 23-year-old model. This is a real person. And she talks about in her testimonial about, these are her words, not mine, very overweight. So she knows this about herself. And so when people see that, they can identify with that, and that goes to help with the trust thing. If you see your reflection in someone's marketing material, it makes it easier for you to trust them. Testimonials are a great way to do that. Brand consistency is a great way to do that. So no matter where they are in their exploration of your brand, they're seeing consistent messages. They're seeing consistent product quality. They're hearing consistent messages from your testimonial, advertising, things like that. So know, trust, and then the love part of it usually comes after the fact. That's where you build a tribe. That's where you build a referral network. And for some strange reason, referral marketing is one of the things that we as business owners drop the ball on. We really, really do. And I'm going to include myself in that, because bulking up our referral marketing system is one of our goals for later on in this year. And here's the thing. You can't get a better recommendation than an unsolicited third-party referral. People who have already done business with you are your absolute best method for advertising, because we go back to this trust and love thing. Your friends and relatives, you already trust and love them way more than you do me. So we don't have to cross that bridge. You're already there with them. So if someone who has done business with you and they've had a positive experience, they tell their friends are already going to be much further along on that trust road than any bit of advertising could ever do. So if you don't have a referral system in place for capitalizing on the people who've already done business with you, you really need to look at that. And we're going to look at that, in the sessions to come, because I think that's very important. Zig Ziglar, and I'll quote him a lot as we go through this, because way back in the day, in the early 1990s, I was a road photographer for, originally the guy started out with Olin Mills and then he separated. But anyway, and so I had a territory that ran up the Mississippi River Delta several hundred miles. And so every day I was out on the road, and I would go through places where you couldn't get radio reception. This was pre-satellite radio days. And so I had a box full of cassette tapes on the seat of my 1981 Buick LeSabre, and I would play cassette tapes. And Zig Ziglar was a sales and marketing guru at the time. Coincidentally, he's also from Mississippi. And one of the things that he said that really, really stuck in my mind was the best way to market your business is to ask people, to ask your happiest customers why they bought from you and then tell the world. So referral marketing is tremendous. So anyway, let's go back and talk about our landing page for a moment. Make sure that you're creating a corral for them, right? A funnel. You want them to go in a specific direction, and that direction is quite obviously and overtly to fill out this form over here. Now, what happens next? And this is what you need to have in place, in my opinion, before you ever start capturing leads, because you probably have captured leads before and then mishandled them. I know I have. Like, I had an entire business back in the late 90s, early 2000s, and I was completely dumb to the way things should be done, and I kept no record of customer information. I did no follow-up marketing. I just relied on new sales to feed things. And fortunately, I was getting enough new sales that, everything was okay. But when that began to slump, as it always will, I didn't have this customer information captured. I couldn't go back and do follow-up marketing with them. Again, if they did business with you initially and they're happy with you, the chances of them coming back and doing business with you are several levels of magnitude greater than trying to solicit new business. But I was young and, not focused on the same things I'm focused on now. So I'm trying to help you guys not make the same mistakes that I did. So anyway, with that being said, make sure you have a solid follow-up system in place before you start capturing leads. We are currently using Flowdesk. Flowdesk is the Canva of CRMs. It's very simple. It's super easy to use, but it has its limitations. And it's relatively inexpensive. I think you can get into a basic Flowdesk account for $19 a month or something like that. Probably even less if you buy a 1 year or 2 year package or whatever. So I'm not advocating that you use Flowdesk. They're certainly not a sponsor of this video, and I have no affiliate relationship with them. I'm just telling you what it is that we use. It's simple. If you just need a simple way to capture leads, send them follow-up emails and stuff like that, obviously the first email that they're going to get on this is going to be the PDF, right? Because that's the trade, which is another thing we should talk about. Your lead capture pages should always be a trade of value. You should have something that's valuable enough for this person so that they're willing to give you their contact information. It's a transaction. It's a sale. It's also a pre-sale indicator. Now, it's a pretty low value pre-sale indicator, but every action that the customer performs leads them closer to the sale if we have done our job and created that funnel the way that it should be. A lot of people, they don't. They just say, okay, I'm going to capture this, and if they convert, they convert, and we'll let nature take its course. I'm not that guy. I want to make sure that we've got a plan in place to move them to where we need to go. So Flowdesk is an option if you're so inclined to use that. Then you need to decide what you're going to say to these people. I recommend that before you start running a campaign, and keep in mind that building SEO is a marketing campaign, an advertising campaign. So when I say campaign, I'm not necessarily talking about a paid campaign. I'm talking about what we're doing here, right? So before you create your campaign, I recommend that you have these pieces in place. It's just going to save you heartache later on. It's going to make sure that you don't waste money because advertising is expensive. So use Flowdesk or whatever mechanism you want to use for that. And make sure that you have, my wife always shudders when I say this, but make sure that you have 6 months of follow-up content in the system before you start capturing leads. And my experience over the years has led me to this sort of strategy. I heavily load the first week or the first month The first month, especially the first week, really, you're going to get several messages during the first week. Preload the first week, but certainly the first month heavier than the second, third, fourth, and fifth month, and then reverse that and load your last month, the number 6 month, and the last week heavier. So your first week, recency and primacy is what that's called, right? So load heavy on the front, load heavy on the back, because once you hit that 6 month mark, in my opinion, the chances of somebody converting are extremely low at that point. So don't be afraid to hammer them. And that's one of the things that we're always cognizant of as we do campaigns. We don't want to overload people to the point where they hit unsubscribe or, God forbid, report us as spam, because that creates a whole litany of other problems, especially if you're using text marketing, and we'll talk about that later on. But text marketing is probably the best way to contact somebody, but it's also the most sensitive, so you have to be really careful with that. It doesn't take many spam complaints to find yourself in a situation where you can no longer deliver any messages to AT&T or T-Mobile or Verizon or whatever, and you certainly don't want to do that, because then you got to back up and retool, and it's just crazy. And I tell you that from having experienced it, so you don't make the same mistakes that I made. So make sure that you've got your follow-up fleshed out. I would say at least 90 days, but try to make that 6 month mark. The first week, they should probably get 4 or 5 messages from you in the first week. And then I would probably shift after that down to a couple, 2 or 3 times a month, maybe weekly. In around that third and fourth month, twice a month is probably going to be, maybe a bi-weekly newsletter sort of idea. And then as you move into that last month, increase that frequency. The first 3 weeks of the last month, I would bump it up to a couple times a week. And then that last week, they're gonna get a message every day, because this is your Hail Mary at that point. You've had these people in your system for 6 months. They obviously have not converted, or they wouldn't still be in the system. And you have nothing to lose, right? I mean, other than obviously getting reported for spam. There's a little bit of danger, I guess, there. But if you're using email, you get a little bit more cushion there with that than you do with text messaging. I wouldn't use text messaging except maybe a couple times obviously the first day I'm going to send you a text, right? And then probably the last message that you're going to get from me is, hey, this is Jason. I noticed you haven't, responded to previous messages or whatever. It's okay to disconnect. Respond with yes or no, or whatever your sort of goodbye message for them is. Because a lot of times FOMO, fear of missing out, kicks in there, and people who are like, oh, no, I really am interested in. I've actually had people call me and say, oh, no, I'm really interested in booking a session. I'm just not ready right now. Please don't take me off your list. Now you need to have a system in place for making sure that that person now has moved up in the hierarchy of value, because they've indicated, hey, I'm interested. I'm just not ready, willing, and able, right? And that's things that we need to talk about when it comes to choosing audiences and things like that. And I'll go back really quickly. We're moving into 47 minutes, so we're probably going to wrap this up pretty quick. One of the things that the guru will tell you is, when you set up your Facebook group, invite everyone you know. That makes no sense to me. And here's why. In order for someone to do business with you, other than they need to know, trust, and love you, they also have to be ready, willing, and able to buy. Just including your cousin Sally and the lady that sits next to you at the PTA meeting, and just every person that you know on the whole Facebook sphere. Adding them to your group makes it look great, right? I mean, your numbers are going up and you're seeing group growth and all this stuff, which I guess makes you feel good. And maybe there's some value to that. But how many of those people are able and willing to pay what it is that we're charging for our luxury services? And I don't know what you guys are charging for your service. And I've said this before. My business mentor in California, there's a guy named Tom LeDuc, crazy successful in the insurance business, and he told me years and years ago that your product or service should always be priced higher than you would be willing to pay for the same product or service if you were buying it from someone else. If you don't, you're never going to hit your financial goals. If you're only selling photography services that fit into your budget, you're locking yourself into this sort of perpetual cycle of limited or no financial growth. So look at the people that you're marketing to and ask yourself, are these people able and willing to pay the price of admission? And if the person that you have on your screen that you're either going to invite to your group or you're going to create your avatar of your perfect buyer so that you can then create advertising campaigns, and we'll talk about avatars in a little bit, not today, but we'll talk about that in some future videos. Is that person ready, willing, and able to make the investment necessary in order to be your customer? If the answer is no, then why would you want to, number one, consume resources to advertise to this person, and number two, want that person in your sphere? And I'll go back to the Facebook group thing because I know that's a very popular thing. And for people who are starting out who don't have a marketing budget, $1 a day, that's all you need to start out. Trust me on this one. Like, you can get into this, and maybe next time I'll break down what I think would be a minimum effective investment for a marketing campaign. I bet that's something. Drop a comment on the group if that's something that you think you would like to see, and I'll do that. Right? I'll sort of create a basic minimum investment for a marketing campaign. So anyway, I know a lot of people when they start out, they don't have this marketing budget to work with. So that's why the group idea is so attractive, is because, if you don't have a budget, you probably have more time in your day than you have money in your day, so that part makes sense. I see people in the groups regularly complain about someone who makes a salty, negative post about how much they charge for their service. How did that person get in your group? If it's someone that you know, and I've seen that because I've had people say, oh, I've known this person all my life. We went to middle school together, and here she is, kicking sand at me because of my prices. Why did you add her to your group? Because she is obviously not willing or able to make the investment necessary to be your customer. And that person is just going to cause static in your group, and you don't need that. So be very intentional about how you target people in your advertising, because you want to make sure that you're getting in front of people who can make that investment, who are willing to make a substantial investment of time and money into themselves. And so really quickly, and we're going to wrap this up here in about the next 2 minutes, think about where your best customer can be found. And understand this, when we start running ads and we start talking about designing ad campaigns, there are financial filters that you can use. And you can only advertise to people who are in the top 50% or top 30% or top 15 or 10% of the income brackets in that area. Those are the people that you want to target. You don't want to target people who are not financially able to make this purchase. Otherwise, you're just spinning your wheels and you're setting yourself up for frustration. So those are some things that we're going to talk about. Do me a favor and go to the Facebook group, or if you're watching this on YouTube, do the whole drop a comment below thing. Obviously, like, comment, subscribe, do all those YouTube things, because that helps me help you. But go to the Facebook group and let me know what are some topics that you guys would like to discuss? And I know this started out kind of as an SEO thing, but I want this to sort of evolve into just basic smart marketing stuff that we can do as business owners to help elevate ourselves. I think we've covered we're going to talk about some offsite stuff probably next week. Talk about some offsite stuff, but if you guys are following the stuff that we've talked about up to this point, you should be seeing some results in the next 30 to 60 days in terms of these pages generating traffic. I want to make sure that you are plugged into making sure that the traffic that you are getting is being handled correctly. So that's why we're talking about these follow-up systems, why we're going to talk about remarketing in depth and Google Tag Manager and Facebook Pixels and all that stuff. So anyway, I appreciate the fact that you guys take time out of your day to watch me. I'm goofy and I lose my train of thought sometimes and I rabbit hole, but hopefully I'm providing you guys with content that's valuable for you. I mean, I do this because I believe that the better the industry is for you, the better it is for me, the better it is for our customers. Rising tides tend to lift all ships. Community over competition, all those things. Anyway, I love you guys. I appreciate you watching. Tune in next week. We'll cover some stuff. Let me know what you want to see, and I'll make sure that I weave it into my crazy stuff that I'm doing. I love you guys. Have a great week. And we are